In this video, I'm going to go over the while loops practice method even numbers. So the directions want us to use a while loop to display the even numbers that fall between start and end inclusive. So for example, if we're starting at 2 and ending at 10, it'd be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. The caveat though is you cannot assume that you're starting at an even number, so just be mindful of that. All right, so let's see how I can think this through. All right, I'm going to go a couple different ways. So let's say I'm going to use these as my values. So I'm going to say while my start is less than or equal to my end. Now, I just got done saying that we cannot assume that this is an even number. So here's one way of fixing that problem. You can check. If it's an even number, we can display it. Again, we're going to display it as in a print statement, and then I'll put a space. Okay. If it's not even, I'm not going to print it. All right. And then regardless of whether or not it's even, I'm going to increment to the next one. And then for our purposes, I'm going to put this print line so that way, again, it sets us up for success for other methods. All right, so if we look here, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So as long as my starting is less than or equal to the end, if it's an even number, display it. Regardless, go to the next one. So that's one way of doing it. Here's another way of doing it, and that's going to say that if my starting value is not even, increment it. So like if I'm starting at 1, increment to 2. If I'm starting at 2, increment to 3. And then here I can say while my start is less than or equal to my end. And I'll use some braces because that's a good habit. I'm going to display that value. Then I'm going to here, I can increment by 2 because I know I'm at an even number. And then again, good habit, just do a blank print line. So here, let's just double check. So 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So here's one where you ensure that you're going to be starting at an even number, and then you can skip by 2 every single time. All right, so that's a different version of the same thing. And if you don't want to change the value of start, you can also instead create a variable that starts or that is assigned the same initial value. The benefit of this is if at some point later on in the method you need to know that initial value, you haven't gone through and changed it. So it's a personal decision depending on, do you need this to stay intact during the method or not? All right, hopefully that was helpful.